now continue um, with what you can say the overview of this whole thing, this whole security thing that we have, especially online. Now, with regards to security, we have this term called computer crime. I should write on this side. Computer crime. Okay. Now, these pertain to crimes perpetrated by way of a computer, meaning to say that it's either done using a computer or it is done to a computer. For example, it can be someone taking your memory from your computer. This is otherwise called memory shaving, meaning to say that you send your computers for repair, they send it back to you, they put the system unit on the tabletop, and they have actually taken out your RAM and put it beside your system unit, right? Sometimes if you do not know this trick, you can just take the system unit and go, which in a sense is you giving consent to them taking off your memory, which is called memory shaving. Next we have things like software piracy. That is also a computer crime, right? Next we have this thing called cyber crime. Once we have the internet, we now can actually use the computer to do different more crimes. Actually, not we, some bad people, right? Some people with horns, so maybe you can call them horny people. Anyway, they can commit crimes, more crimes, because now with the internet, more things can be done. Good things as well as bad things. Now, cybercrime are crimes perpetrated or committed by way of using the internet, right? And the difference between these two is computer crime can actually be prosecuted and you can be tried by way of just regular civil law, meaning, let's say for example, memory shaving, that's technically stealing, or piracy, that's, well, piracy, which is prosecutable by way of civil law, regular law, whereas cybercrime is different. Let's say hacking and things like phishing, stealing people's information. Technically speaking, if say you walk around and you happen to see a document on top of someone's desk, that is not wrong, that is not a crime. But if you actually seek this document, that might be a crime. But then how do we prove it? So cybercrime is something else. It's crime done through the internet, committed through the internet. And so because it's just so new, we also have law which is relatively new. It's called cyber law. Cyber law. Okay, now, of course, to commit this kind of crime, right, you need something. It's like, for example, if you want to steal, you will have some kind of tools to actually steal things, right? To commit cyber crime, you have to have the tools to actually do it, right? And you have to have, you can say, the nuts and bolts. So the first step towards cyber crime is, of course, obtaining information from people, right? Meaning to say that you steal information. Why do we steal information, right? So in the information age, information is the most valuable thing. Meaning, once people get your information, a lot of things can be done. For example, people can steal in your name. People can create profiles in your name. People can buy things in your name, right? Otherwise, this can be called identity theft. But of course, the first thing that they need to obtain is information. If you still remember from the previous topic that we discussed about, it is on technologies that erode privacy. All of these are also taking information from you. So you want to guard your information. And whereas these people who want to commit cybercrime, they want to get at your information. And how do they do that? There's several ways of doing it. First, they can do this. It's called dumpster diving. This is basically people going through other people's trash to look for information. Of course, you'll notice that digital trash is different from our trash. Our trash has ribs and bones and all of these smelly things, whereas the digital dumpster do not have such things, but it does have random binary numbers maybe, right? And if you're good enough, you can actually uh, dig through these dumpsters and actually find information that you can actually use, because information is something very valuable that you can actually use to do things online, right? Other than that, you can also sniff packets, meaning to say that, for example, people are sending message from one point to another, right? The thing about digital packets is, of course, it's very different from real ones. If you watch any of these imperial Chinese movies, what happens is that, for example, if the what do you call it, the should we call it emperor? Yeah, I was coming up with king. Emperor of China, for example, wants to send something to someone else, so he'll use his seal, right? So you have the, like, some kind of a letter, and it has its own envelope, and on the envelope it will have the king will have his seal, right? The emperor will have his seal. So if someone were to tamper with the message, he would know. But the digital world is different, because it's really easy to make copies of this, right? You send it, people can make copies, or people can sniff it. Sniffing means you can see intercepting message and seeing what's inside, right? Then we have this rather prominent, and you might I say rather prominent because people notice it, meaning dumpster diving and sniffing both are done stealthily, meaning you don't notice that people are doing it, committing these uh, information stealing acts, right? Whereas phishing is where people actually send you something and ask you to respond to it, right? For example, a fake but legitimate looking email, usually pertaining to banks, right? They'll just say, for example, "Dear valid customer, there's something wrong with your account. Can you please respond and do something about it?" Right? So that is phishing. Um, they either send a legitimate looking email, or use a legitimate looking website, or use both, meaning they send an email and tell you to come to this particular website to actually update your information, right? Which can be a bad idea, because then you would be freely giving information. And so phishing is more prominent than dumpster diving and sniffing, because we notice it happening, right? Now, to the regular public, phishing is something that bad people do, whereas they can also target individuals. If you're a high-ranking officer in a certain bank or corporation or organization, they can do what we call spear phishing. Maybe I'll just write that using the black marker. Spear phishing. Now, as you might have an idea of fishing, fishing is basically you just throw your angler, angling. You just throw your bait and hope a fish eats it. Then you might get the fish. Whereas spear fishing, you actually have to target the fish. You're actually looking, I'm going to stab you with this spear, right? That is spear fishing. And so with spear fishing, what happens is that these bad people are sending, you can say, exclusive messages to exclusive people, meaning some high-ranking officer saying, "Dear Mr. something something, dear Mr. Najmuddin, there's something wrong with your account." So in that particular case, and not that I'm high-ranking, but in that particular case, that is spear phishing, meaning they're actually exclusive and they're targeting someone, right? Now, needless to say, all of these are for the purpose of getting information, because once information is obtained, a lot of things can be done. I mean, imagine in the online world, if you want to buy something, you need to supply, for example, credit card number, when does it expire, and etc. They won't ask to, for example, see your face or your scar that you get from World War II, or your thumbprint. They don't really ask, meaning websites and online merchants and service providers, they don't really ask for these physical traits or real life ID or anything like that. They just need information. So once people can get information, they can be you. They can steal your identity.